I'm economist Mike Brandl. One question I often get asked is, why do we need sustainable finance? The short answer is our current mode of financial thinking is outdated and broken. We need something that will better safeguard our prosperity. That is, we need a system that will safeguard our social and environmental capital. To see why, let's take a step back. The decades after the Second World War, well, things were pretty good in Western Europe, the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan. Using the vernacular of sustainable finance, things were great in terms of financial and social capital. Incomes across the board rose, healthcare improved, life expectancy increased, rates of poverty declined, and so on. Thus, financial capital, F, went up as real incomes and wealth increased. And so did social capital, S. People's wellness improved, access to food, water, clothing, healthcare, all improved. Thus, both F and S increased in the early decades following the Second World War. The only loser in that time period was E, environmental capital, but we hardly noticed. The picture started to change in the 1970s. There became a growing awareness and concern over the environmental damage that was being done. But as time went on, by the 1980s and into the 1990s, conditions had worsened. Driven by globalization and technological change, and exacerbated by political choices, climate change became a growing threat. At the time, we saw growing income and wealth inequality, all the while the social safety net was slowly being chipped away. Over the past few decades, F, or financial capital, and the returns to financial capital have become increasingly prioritized. As corporate profits increased, many of us financially benefited as the stock market returns soared. But the price has been high in terms of E, environmental capital, and S, social capital. The distribution of wealth and incomes has gotten increasingly uneven. While the wealthiest families have gotten richer, the bottom half of the working population saw no real rise in their income over the past several decades. Even worse, the social safety net has been shredded. Economic uncertainty has increased as it's become more and more difficult for people to make ends meet. All of this has contributed to making much of the population effectively worse off. Thus, the downward arrow on social capital. Meanwhile, the E, or environmental capital, has been increasingly pillaged, bringing us close to a dangerous planetary boundary that could cause the collapse of ecosystems and society. Still, we as a society have hardly even started to respond to this challenge. We continue to focus almost exclusively on short-term maximization of F, financial capital and financial returns. But why? Well, it's because our institutions are geared for it, and that needs to change. We need a sustainable type of finance that allows us to explicitly focus on E and S as well as F. How we do that will be the subject of our next videos. Thank you for tuning in.